Ever since Tyrese Maxey's taken on the responsibility of a lead guard, he's been looking like a superstar. The shot creation, the playmaking, the efficiency, it's all there, while his teammate Joel Embiid still looks pretty good himself. These two leading the Sixers to a number 1 seed. No performance more perfectly encapsulates the dominance of this pairing than their most recent matchup with the Pacers, as Maxey marked a new career high with 50 while the reigning MVP did his thing. Philly opened the game with a pick and roll between their two stars, but starting deep on the left wing instead of from up top. And that's so when Maxey comes off the screen, he's able to attack to his right with all of his momentum going towards the middle of the floor, easily getting to a floater. Another reason they like to set up these two-man actions on the left wing is because of a play like this, where Maxey shovels the ball to Embiid, but the big man does a good job of recovering to take away the roll. Take a look at how the floor is set up. 3 Sixers on the opposite side, Maxey one pass away at the top of the key, and now Joel's able to comfortably isolate with a ton of space, throwing a couple jabs into a mid-range jumper. They just kept going back to this exact play over and over again, because no matter what Indiana tried to do, there's just so many different options. This time Maxey again gets to the middle of the lane, but instead of taking the floater, he hesitates and leverages that threat to draw the attention of Turner before dropping it off to the big man for an easy lay. Here it is again. To protect the middle from a drive, Bruce is going to try to go under the screen, but all that does is open up Maxey on the perimeter for a step back 3. And how about attempt number 5? Just 2.5 minutes into the game. Bruce has to chase him over the top, with Turner dropping back to protect the paint, and Maxey takes off from about the free throw line for a finger roll that just rims out, but guess who's there on the follow, securing a second chance, taking a power dribble to establish deeper position, which sets up an easy 2. When Maxey checked out of the game a little over halfway through the first, that's when the Sixers switched to a much more Embiid-centric approach, and I think what stands out is just how many different spots on the floor he's comfortable operating from. Of course, most of his time is spent right in the middle, where he can turn and shoot over the top of anyone. But he can also play the style of a more old-school low post guy, battling for inside position so that he can catch the ball right in front of the basket, which earns him a pair of free throws. Unlike most traditional bigs though, he's also a good enough ball handler to initiate the offense like a guard, with the skill set to create his own shot like a wing, going behind his back, crossing back over to his left, and pulling up for a tough jumper from about the free throw line. Joel played all 12 minutes of the first and finished with 19 points, a super impressive start to the game, and when he sat out to start the second, in came Tyrese Maxey to run the show. Remember how the game opened with those left wing pick and rolls? Well, now that it was Paul Reed setting screens instead of Joel, they went to a high pick and roll. Maxey comes off this one with a ton of space, and when Obi Toppin reaches a hand towards the nail, he's gonna make his scoring move up through the arm so that he can draw a foul for a chance at 3. Next time down, it was the exact same thing, except this time Jalen Smith plays a little closer to the ball so that Maxey can't easily touch the paint, and that opens up a shovel pass to Reed, who takes one dribble into the restricted area for 2. Then they went to it a third time, except now Jalen Smith wants to protect the rim from Reed's roll, so instead of shoveling a pass, Maxey's gonna take it all the way to the rack himself. On this one, it's gonna be 2 screens instead of 1, and what you're gonna see is that the point of attack defender tries to go under, while the second defender points to call for a switch. But Jalen Smith is a touch late getting out to the perimeter, and that's all Maxey needs to step into a 3. So a possession later, they decide to give up the switch, but now Tyrese has a favorable matchup to attack in isolation, going between his legs and hesitating as if looking to explode on a drive, only to step back for a 3 from extended range. I mentioned that Joel had 19 in the first, Maxey had 17 in the second. Both of these two had it going early on, and when Embiid checked back in with 5 minutes to go, you could just see how many different ways these two guys are capable of attacking. It started with an Embiid post-up, but not looking to score, instead setting up a split action for Tyrese to come off and shoot, although he isn't able to knock this one down. They went to these open side isolations for Joel quite a bit to close the half. You can just see how physically overwhelming he is as he goes right into the core of Myles Turner and bullies his way into a free two at the rim. Here it is again, this time playing with his back to the basket, and when help comes from the wing, he turns and shoots into it so that he can draw another foul. Of course, they could also start plays with that unstoppable two-man game, this time starting out in space. Maxey's able to turn the corner with speed and kicks it to Melton in the corner for a quality three, but he just leaves it short. And on the final possession of the half, it was the exact same setup, but with Myles Turner jumping out in a more aggressive coverage. So when Joel gets it in the middle of the floor, the weak side defender has to rotate over, leaving Tobias Harris wide open in the left corner. Again, just not quite able to capitalize. They went into the half with a 9-point lead, Joel having scored 26, with Maxey not far behind at 25, those two accounting for nearly 75% of the points. To start the third, they were running a lot of isolation ball through Embiid. Here's one where he shows off the beautiful footwork with a half spin, step through into a reverse lay, missing the first one but putting it right back up for two. For the most part though, this was a pretty rough quarter for the MVP, missing a lot of shots that he normally makes, or just carelessly turning the ball over. With the half-court offense looking a bit sluggish, it was Maxey's play and transition that really got them going. By pushing the ball with pace, there's nobody back to protect the rim, so he's able to drive right at his man and draw a foul. This one starts on the defensive end. He blocks a shot and immediately looks to grab the ball and take off. Just look at the speed as he beats nearly everyone down the floor, taking it coast to coast for two. That speed can be weaponized in so many different ways, even in a slower paced setting, like here where he sets up a little give and go with Embiid so that he can get a handoff with momentum going to his right, and that puts him in a position to either turn the corner with speed or pull back into one of his long-range jumpers. These little give and goes in the two-man game have become a staple in Maxey's offense, whether it's with Joel, Paul Reed, whoever. Even with Bruce going under the screen, Maxey's so fast that he's still able to turn the corner on a drive, and there's nobody left to slow his momentum as he runs into a layup. But it's not just the on-ball game that defenses have to worry about, because if he's given space, he'll just step into a three off the catch. That unique combination of shooting and speed has turned him into one of the game's most lethal spot-ups. When Embiid's operating out of the post or in the middle of the floor, by placing Maxey just one pass away, it's really difficult to bring in extra help because he not only demands a closeout, but will absolutely destroy them through his explosive slashing. Philly's rotation stayed the exact same in half number 2. Maxey sitting down first, leaving Joel to run the offense. But this time, instead of a heavy dose of isolation, it was a lot of two-man game, just with other guys. This time it's newly acquired Nick Batum who comes off a screen and steps into a triple. About a minute later, Joel again flowed into a dribble handoff, but with DeAnthony Melton, and same thing, he's given space to pull up for a jumper. The type of defensive attention a scorer like Embiid demands allows him to run these actions with pretty much any ball handler you can think of. As Furkan Korkmaz drives, notice how nobody rotates over to him, because that would mean Joel catching the ball in the middle of the floor, and they'd rather live with the alternative, which in this case did end up being the right choice. To start the final period, it was once again time for Tyrese Maxey to lead the charge. I absolutely loved Philly's opening set, curling Maxey off a screen at about the left elbow, only for him to sprint off a back screen from the right elbow, and that frees him up for an easy deuce. But from there on out, it pretty much all came down to Maxey's ability to create shots. Of course, that primarily means high ball screens, where he has room to build up that head of steam and blur his way to the basket for a goaltending call. Or where he can weaponize that driving threat by taking the initial burst, only to stop on a dime and step back to the three-point line, showcasing some top-notch creation skills. Leveraging the threat goes both ways though. This time he's gonna fake the three before starting on a drive, and just that little hesitation is all he needs to set up a floater, which results in another goaltend. This next one starts with a ball screen from Patrick Beverley who slips, and Indiana's gonna hedge, which leaves Bev open in the short roll. He quickly fires it over to Batum, who fakes and sends it back to Maxey. Then we see that off the catch slashing, pulling an extra defender to the paint and creating a wide open three for Pat. He hits nothing but the air, but his miss lands directly into the hands of Maxey, who now has a new career high of 45. Because the 76ers were playing so well, Embiid didn't have to check back in until there were 3.5 minutes left in the game, and on the first play, he's gonna isolate Miles Turner. I don't think I have to explain how absolutely ridiculous it is for someone of that size to control his momentum in the way that he does. Those freakish physical tools make him nearly impossible to contain one-on-one. Turner's a great defender, but he has no answer for the coordination, power, and touch of Joel. Philly found themselves up 12 with a minute and a half left, the game essentially over, but Maxey still needed 5 more to reach that first career 50 ball. First, it was this drive off the catch, getting all the way to the rim as he sets up another one of those floaters, and then
to Embiid, to Maxey. Crowd asking for more. Maxey.
No way.
It wasn't just the 50 burger that made this performance from Maxey so impressive, but also the efficiency, 75% true shooting. Joel had 37 points and 7 assists of his own, meaning that the duo combined for 87 points and 12 assists. Naturally, that led Philly to a 137 offensive rating as they picked up their 8th win in a row. They remain as the only team with just 1 loss and currently rank as the number 3 offense, spearheaded by their star pairing of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of this duo. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.